The creature under the blanket wasn't supposed to be alive. Dr. Marcus Vale knew that much the moment he saw it twitch. The body had been mangled beyond recognition. Bones shattered, skin torn in strange geometric cracks that glowed faintly blue beneath the blood. He dragged her from the crater with shaking hands, thinking she was some kind of burn victim, until she spoke. "Kill me quickly," she rasped, voice trembling through pain and static. Marcus froze, scalp prickling. He'd been a medic in 2 wars, seen people torn apart by shrapnel, burned alive in tanks, but this voice didn't sound human. It carried a hum, like there were wires vibrating inside her throat. Her words came in uneven bursts, and when she breathed, it wasn't air that filled her lungs, but a mist that shimmered faintly under the lab lights. "Kill me quickly," she said again. Please, he should have run. Every instinct screamed that nothing good would come from keeping her alive. But he couldn't do it, not after everything he'd seen. Not after losing too many people he couldn't save. Instead, he lifted the blanket gently, his heart hammering against his ribs. The first thing he saw was bone, if you could call it that. The fractures weren't clean breaks, but splits that exposed metallic filaments beneath. They glowed faintly, pulsing like veins of light. Her ribs had shattered and reformed in unnatural ways, curling around her organs like a cage. The blood that coated her skin glowed in pulses that matched the soft hum in the air. "What are you?" Marcus whispered. She turned her head weakly toward him. Her eyes opened just enough for him to see that her pupils weren't round, but shaped like concentric circles, rotating faintly like the iris of a camera lens. Her lips moved, dry and cracked. "Not from here," he tried to steady his voice. "Where then?" "Too far," she said. Her voice trembled, and a faint spark of light flickered across her tongue. "Too far to ever go back." He took a shaky breath, his mind racing. He'd worked for years at the research division of Helix Dynamics, a government-funded defense contractor specializing in extraterrestrial phenomena, but most of what they studied were theories and debris, never a living specimen. Now one lay in front of him, asking for death. "Why do you want me to kill you?" he asked. Her expression twisted, not with fear, but with something like regret. "Because they'll come," she said. "They always do." "Who?" "The ones who made me." Before he could ask more, the lights above him flickered. One bulb exploded, showering the lab in sparks. Then another. The hum from her body grew louder, vibrating through the walls. Every piece of electronic equipment around them, the monitors, the heart rate machines, even the emergency lights, shuddered and went dead. The silence that followed was absolute. Marcus stood still, the smell of burnt metal thick in his nose. He could hear only her ragged breathing and the faint crackle of electricity in the air. Then slowly, she lifted one trembling hand from beneath the blanket. Her fingers were too long, jointed twice instead of once, the skin so thin he could see light moving under it. "Cover me," she whispered. "Hide me," he hesitated. "Why? What's happening?" She looked at him with those rotating eyes, and for a moment he thought he saw something reflected in them, something vast and cold and moving just beyond sight. "They'll scan," she said. "They'll look for the signal. My body's a beacon. If they find me..." She didn't finish the sentence, but he didn't need her to. The fear in her voice was human enough to understand. Marcus grabbed another blanket and threw it over her. The hum dulled instantly, fading to a faint vibration beneath the floor. Then the temperature dropped. The air thickened, and from somewhere above, the sound began. A low, steady droning, like the hum of turbines spinning in the clouds. He stumbled to the window and peered through the slats of the blinds. The sky above the crater glowed faintly white, rippling like water disturbed by a stone. The sound was getting louder, deeper, closer. "Jesus Christ," he whispered. "They're real." Behind him, she whimpered under the blanket, her voice breaking. "It's not them you should fear," she said. "It's what they left inside me." Marcus turned sharply. "Inside you?" Her breathing hitched. "They built me to survive, to adapt, to infect." He felt his stomach drop. "Infect." But before she could answer, the ceiling lights flared bright white and then burst again, shards raining down. The air itself vibrated, shaking the tools off the shelves. The hum outside grew deafening. He dropped to his knees beside her. "What's happening to you?" Her body began to convulse beneath the blanket. The fabric glowed faintly blue as something beneath her skin shifted and crawled, like thousands of tiny lights moving through her veins. "It's waking up," she gasped. "I can't hold it." Marcus grabbed her hand, cold, shaking, alien, and pressed it to the floor. "Hold on. Whatever's in you, we'll find a way to stop it." Her eyes fluttered open. "You can't stop it," she said. "You can only choose who it kills first." Before he could respond, every object in the lab lifted half an inch off the floor. Scalpels, beakers, even the oxygen tank, hovering in mid-air as gravity seemed to forget itself. The humming reached a sharp metallic pitch that stabbed at his ears. Marcus ducked, covering his head. "What's happening?" he yelled. Then as suddenly as it began, everything fell. The noise stopped. The air stilled. For a long moment there was only silence. Marcus slowly raised his head. The lights were still dead. Smoke hung in the air like mist. He turned to the table, only to find it empty. The blanket was there, but the creature was gone. "Hello?" he called. His voice echoed strangely, as if the room were larger now than it had been before. He stepped forward and reached for the blanket. The metal beneath his boots felt warm. He lifted the corner of the fabric, half expecting to find blood or dust or nothing at all. Instead, the faint outline of a hand pressed against his chest from beneath the blanket, small, glowing, and not human. Marcus stumbled back as the whisper came again. This time inside his head. "They found us." And before he could move, the room filled with a sound like thunder tearing through glass, and the world turned to light. The hum outside grew louder, rising from a distant vibration into a deep, thrumming growl that shook the walls. Marcus's instruments, the ones that hadn't already been destroyed, flickered erratically. The pulse of blue light from the woman's body matched the rhythm of the sound outside, as if the two were communicating. She shivered beneath the blanket, whispering words too faint to hear. He moved closer, his throat dry. "Who's coming?" Her voice was barely a breath. "They don't have names you can speak." He frowned. "Aliens?" She looked at him, her eyes glowing through the dim light. "Not aliens. Architects." Marcus didn't know what to make of that, but the way she said it sent a shiver down his spine. Her gaze darted toward the window. "They build worlds," she murmured. "Then they tear them apart when they outgrow their purpose. I escaped before they reset mine." "Reset?" he asked. "Erase," she corrected softly. Another sound tore through the air, this time sharper, closer. It wasn't thunder, it was something slicing through it. Marcus crossed to the window, pushing aside the blinds just enough to look. The night sky rippled like oil. A ring of light was forming above the crater, a perfect circle, bright and silent. Inside it, the air seemed to twist, bending stars into spirals. He'd seen strange things before during his years working for Helix Dynamics, but this was something primal, deliberate. It wasn't just a machine. It was searching. He turned back to her. "We have to get you out of here." Her expression turned sharp, panicked. "No. If I leave the room, they'll find me in seconds. The blanket hides my signature. It was made from their own tissue, what's left of it." Marcus blinked. "What does that mean?" She didn't answer. Instead, she reached down and pulled the blanket tighter over herself. The hum in the air softened, the instruments around the lab briefly flickering back to life. He saw her body, trembling beneath the fabric, not from cold, but from something internal. Every few seconds, blue light flashed beneath her skin in short bursts, like distant lightning trapped inside her veins. He realized she was in agony. "Whatever's happening to you," he began. "It's not happening to me," she interrupted, voice shaking. "It's happening through me." The implication hit him hard. He stepped back, pulse racing. "You mean something's using you?" "Yes," she said. "They made me to be the bridge. Between worlds, between matter and code, between thought and creation." Her voice trembled, cracking under the weight of what she was saying. But I broke. I wanted to feel, not serve. That was my first sin. Marcus rubbed his temples. You're telling me you disobeyed the things that created you? I remembered what they erased from themselves. Compassion. She winced as another wave of pain tore through her, her back arching. They don't understand it. They can't. But I... Her words broke into a scream as her body convulsed. The glow from under the blanket became blinding for a moment before fading again. Marcus rushed to her side. Stay with me. You're going into shock. I'm not dying, she hissed through clenched teeth. I'm remembering. Her voice didn't sound human anymore. It layered, one tone on top of another, like multiple versions of her speaking at once. The air grew heavy, and every metal object in the room began to vibrate. He could feel static crawling over his skin, the faint taste of iron on his tongue. The window shattered. Cold air flooded in. Marcus flinched and ducked as shards rained down, then looked up to see the sky above the crater alive with motion. The circle of light had expanded, forming what looked like a rift in space. Through it, he saw enormous silhouettes moving, geometric shapes, metallic and fluid, like machines dreaming in unison. What are they? He whispered. Her eyes glowed brighter. My creators, he turned back to her, heart pounding. You said they build worlds. What do they want with Earth? She didn't hesitate. To unmake it. For a long moment, the only sound was the wind howling through the shattered window. Then Marcus said quietly, Why would they do that? They do it to all their projects, she said. When the worlds stop obeying, they start again. It's a cycle. Cleanse, rebuild, observe, evolve. But I escaped. I brought something they want back. What? Her expression twisted with pain and shame. The key. The key to what? To shut them out. Marcus felt the world tilt around him. You're saying you can stop them? No, she said softly. You can. He stared at her. Me? I don't even know what's happening. She smiled faintly, and for the first time it looked almost human. You found me. That's enough. He didn't have time to argue. The hum outside grew into a roar, shaking the entire building. The circle of light over the crater pulsed, sending down beams that pierced the clouds. He could see shapes forming in the light, tall, angular and wrong, like something built by hands that had never seen flesh. They're coming through, he said. Yes, she whispered, and they'll kill anything that stands between them and the key. Marcus looked at her, realization dawning. That means you. She met his eyes. No. That means us. He didn't have time to respond. A beam of light slammed into the ground outside with a thunderous crack, sending a shockwave through the building. The walls split. The power flickered again, then died completely. Marcus fell to one knee, covering his head. The air was thick with dust and static. When he looked up, the girl was standing, or rather floating, above the ground. The blanket hung loosely around her shoulders, her body radiating light so bright it painted the room in shifting patterns. Her wounds were gone. The blue glow in her veins had solidified, forming lines of light like circuitry. You said you wanted me to hide you, Marcus said slowly, his voice barely steady. Now you're lighting up the sky. She turned toward him, and he felt the weight of her gaze like a physical force. It's too late to hide, she said. They've locked onto my signal, but I can protect you. Protect me. Her smile was thin, sad. I can shield your mind. They'll see only me. Why help me? Because you still believe there's a choice. She looked toward the shattered window as the hum outside reached a frequency that rattled his teeth. And because you remind me of the first one who did. Before Marcus could ask what she meant, the ceiling split open with a scream of tearing metal. A beam of pure white light poured into the lab, swallowing everything in radiance. The instruments melted, the walls cracked, the hum became a chorus of mechanical voices whispering in a language that made his bones ache. Marcus shielded his face. "What do I do?" he shouted. Her voice came from everywhere and nowhere, layered and powerful. "Don't run!" The floor disintegrated beneath his feet. The light consumed them both. And then, just as suddenly, everything went silent. Marcus found himself on his knees in the wreckage. Smoke drifted through the air. The hum was gone. The girl lay still beneath the blanket again, her body cold, her glow extinguished. He crawled toward her, reaching for her wrist. It was smooth, cool, motionless. He felt for a pulse. Nothing. Then her eyes snapped open, glowing brighter than before. "Not them," she whispered. "It's already inside." And the room began to tremble all over again. The walls shuddered like they were breathing, the air thick with a low-frequency hum that seemed to come from inside the earth. Marcus's ears rang. He stumbled backward as cracks split across the floor, glowing faintly blue, spreading like veins of lightning beneath his feet. The girl lay still for a moment, then rose again. Not stood, not floated, but lifted, as though gravity had simply forgotten her. Her hair drifted in all directions, defying the air, and the light beneath her skin pulsed in rhythm with the cracks in the floor. "Stop!" Marcus shouted over the growing roar. "Whatever's happening, stop it before it kills us both." Her head tilted back, eyes wide, no longer frightened but blank, almost machine-like. When she spoke, her voice echoed, not just in the room, but inside his mind. "They're trying to overwrite me. They think I'm a corrupted file." Marcus pressed himself against the lab counter, heart slamming in his chest. "What does that even mean?" "They're rewriting the world," she said. "Starting here." Before he could respond, the ceiling lights flickered on again, only they weren't lights anymore. They were glyphs, glowing symbols that hovered in mid-air, rearranging themselves every second. He recognized none of them, yet somehow the sight made his head ache, as if his brain wasn't meant to see such shapes. The girl let out a cry, clutching her head. "They're forcing the recall," she hissed. "They want to pull me back." Marcus grabbed a steel syringe from the counter, something solid, real, to ground himself. "Then fight them!" Her eyes snapped open, burning white. "Help me," he froze. "How? You're human. Your anchor code. Your biology still obeys physical law. I can use it." Marcus didn't understand, not fully, but something in her voice, desperation, not malice, made him step closer. "Tell me what to do." "Touch me," she said, reaching out a trembling hand. "Don't let go, no matter what happens." Every instinct told him to run, to get as far away from her as possible. But he took her hand. The instant their skin met, he felt it, an electric surge, burning through every nerve. His vision blurred, and suddenly he wasn't in the lab anymore. He was inside something vast, something infinite. He saw stars being born and devoured, saw planets crumbling into dust, saw machines that built and destroyed civilizations in a single breath. And through it all, he felt her, screaming, struggling to hold on as countless entities, faceless and cold, tried to drag her back into the void. "Who are they?" he managed to gasp. "The architects," she said. "They made me from the bones of a dying world. I was meant to guide the next one." Her words trembled, rippling through his mind like echoes in a deep cave. "But I learned to remember. That was my mistake." A blast of white light seared through their shared vision. Marcus saw the architects, towering beings of metal and geometry, with eyes like black holes and voices like thunder. "Return the fragment," one said, its mouth not moving, yet the words carved themselves into his thoughts. "The experiment is concluded. She's not an experiment," Marcus shouted. His voice sounded wrong, distorted, like he was underwater. "Then she is contamination," the architect replied. The light intensified. The girl convulsed, her grip tightening on his hand. "They're overriding my pattern," she cried. "If they succeed, I'll become what they wanted again. What can I do? Pull me back, anchor me to this world. You have to want me to exist." He gritted his teeth, fighting the pain. "I already do." Her eyes flared brighter. For a moment, the architects faltered, their shapes fracturing. The hum deepened, and Marcus felt something shift, like the very rules of reality were bending around them. Then with a thunderous crack, everything collapsed. He slammed back into the lab floor, gasping. The lights were out again. The hum was gone. He was drenched in sweat, shaking. The girl lay motionless beside him, her glow dim but steady. Marcus crawled toward her, heart racing. "Are you alive?" She opened her eyes, faintly luminous. "Yes," she whispered. "You pulled me back." He laughed shakily, half from relief, half from disbelief. "Good, because I don't think I can handle another goddamn light show." But her expression was grave. "They won't stop. You said I anchored you. I'm still marked. They can follow the signal." And now, she looked at him with a strange mixture of sorrow and wonder. "Now you're marked too." Before he could speak, a deep rumble rolled through the ground. The sound wasn't distant. It came from below the lab. The floor began to vibrate. A line of glowing symbols etched itself across the tiles, forming a circle around them. Marcus grabbed her arm. "What's happening now?" "They're sending retrieval units," she said, standing unsteadily. "Physical forms. They'll tear through everything to get the key." "The key! You keep saying that. What is it?" Her gaze locked with his. "The ability to choose," he stared. "That's not a key. That's everything," she interrupted. "The architects erased it from themselves long ago. They replaced choice with calculation. I found a way to bring it back, to infect them with uncertainty. That's why they want me destroyed." The floor cracked open beside them, and something emerged, a figure made of liquid metal, humanoid but featureless, its face a shifting mask of mirrored surfaces. Its body emitted a low vibration that made Marcus's teeth ache. "Go," she said. "Run! I'm not leaving you!" She turned to him, eyes flaring again. "You already did the impossible once. Don't make me fail you twice." The creature lunged. Marcus swung the syringe like a knife, but it passed harmlessly through the thing's body, scattering droplets of molten light that reformed instantly. The girl raised her hand and the air crackled. A blast of energy burst from her palm, slamming into the creature and throwing it across the room. It hit the wall, dissolving into mist. Her knees buckled. Marcus caught her before she fell. "That thing, it's gone." "No," she whispered. "That was a scout. The others are close. Then we move." He half dragged, half carried her toward the back door of the lab, which led into the forest behind the facility. But when he yanked it open, the world beyond wasn't the forest anymore. It was metal. An endless field of silver constructs stretched to the horizon. Towers, wires, and pulsating lights forming a machine landscape where trees had once stood. The night sky above was gone, replaced by a dome of shifting symbols and artificial stars. "They've already begun rewriting this sector," she said, voice trembling. "Reality is folding." Marcus stared at her. "Then how do we stop them?" "You can't stop what's already started," she said. "But you can decide how it ends." He turned toward her, frustration and fear boiling together. "I don't even understand what that means." She smiled weakly. "You will." Before he could ask more, the ground erupted again, and half-formed figures rose from the metallic soil, dozens of them, their limbs twitching, faces blank mirrors. The hum returned, louder, more insistent. "Stay behind me," she said, stepping forward. Her glow reignited, bright enough to hurt his eyes. "If they take me, they'll take you. If I burn, you burn too." Marcus clenched his fists. "Then we burn together." The nearest creature lunged, and the world exploded in white light. When the brilliance faded, Marcus stood alone amid silence. The figures were gone. The ground was still metal, but it no longer moved. The girl lay a few feet away, unmoving, the light in her body gone completely. He fell to his knees beside her. "No, no, no." He pressed a hand to her chest. Nothing, not even a flicker. Then faintly her lips moved. "You're the key now," she whispered. Marcus froze. "What?" Her eyes fluttered open one last time, glowing dimly. "They can't kill me if I'm part of you." Her hand touched his face. A surge of blue light flashed between them, searing his vision. When it faded, she was gone, nothing left but a shimmer of dust. and inside his chest something began to glow. The world had gone silent. The metallic landscape that had once been a forest was still and cold, the air thick with static that shimmered faintly in the lightless sky. Marcus knelt where she had vanished, his chest burning, his heart hammering in confused grief and disbelief. Her last words echoed in his skull, not as memory but as vibration. "You're the key now." He looked down at his hands. They glowed faintly blue beneath the skin, the same hue that had once pulsed through her veins. He flexed his fingers, and the light brightened, dimmed, brightened again, like a heartbeat trying to remember its rhythm. "No," he whispered. No, I'm not part of this." But he could feel it now, the hum of the world beneath him, alive and aware. It wasn't sound, it was thought. The entire metallic terrain stretched out like circuitry, a vast neural network of light and shadow. Every breath he took sent tiny ripples through the metal ground, as if the world itself were reading him, reacting to him. "Marcus." He froze. The voice was hers, soft, ethereal, but it didn't come from behind him. It came from everywhere. "Where are you?" he shouted, spinning in circles. His voice echoed strangely, the sound warping mid-air, pulled and stretched by unseen forces. "Where are you?" "Inside," she whispered. "Will you let me in?" He staggered back. "Get out! Get out of my head." "I can't," she said, calm and sorrowful. "You took my place when I transferred the key. We're fused now. One pattern, two minds." Marcus felt his heart drop. "Then undo it. Take it back." "If I do," she said, "you'll die. You weren't meant to carry the architect's code." He pressed his palms to his temples, feeling the faint hum in his skull. "You're saying I'm some kind of host?" "No," she said softly. "You're more than that. You're the bridge now, the first true hybrid between their design and your species' will." He laughed bitterly, running a trembling hand through his hair. "That's insane. I'm not some cosmic middleman. I'm a doctor. A human." The ground beneath him shivered in response, sending rings of blue light outward like ripples on a pond. "Then why can the world hear you?" Marcus froze. The ripples he'd made didn't stop. They grew, branching out across the metallic plains, spreading farther than his eyes could see. The hum intensified, 1,000 voices murmuring in unison. "Marcus Vale, Marcus Vale." He fell to his knees, gripping the ground. "Make it stop." "You can't," she said. "You're in command now." "Command of what?" "The rewrite." The horizon split open. The metal surface cracked and peeled back, like skin revealing veins of molten light. Above, the artificial sky shifted, symbols rearranging themselves into spirals. The air buzzed with power, resonating with his pulse. Marcus tried to back away, but his feet were anchored, sinking slightly into the glowing soil. "What's happening?" "You're activating the new pattern," she said. "Your emotions guide it. That's what makes you dangerous to them." He looked up at the swirling sky. "You mean the architects?" "Yes, they never understood emotion. They built their worlds on logic and precision. You're chaos, Marcus. That's why they fear you. I don't want any of this," he shouted. "I just wanted to help you." "And you did." Her voice softened. "But you also opened the gate." He turned sharply. "What gate?" The answer came not in words, but in vision. The ground around him began to shift again, forming structures, towers of metal and light rising from the earth, stretching into the sky like a blooming forest of machines. Within seconds, the landscape had transformed. Where there had been emptiness, there was now a city, vast, luminous, and alive. Marcus stumbled back, staring in awe. "Did I do this?" "You're rewriting reality," she said. "Creating as fast as you think." The realization hit him like cold water. Every flicker of fear, every flash of anger, every image in his head, it all began to take shape. He thought of fire, and walls burst into flame. He thought of escape, and doorways appeared, stretching endlessly into the distance. His mind was building the world around him. He clutched his head, trembling. "I can't control it." "You must," she said urgently. "If you lose focus, the architects will seize control of the network and use you as their vessel." A shadow fell across the city. He looked up. The sky above had cracked open, revealing enormous angular forms descending. Massive constructs shaped like inverted pyramids, their surfaces rippling with energy. The architects had arrived. "No," Marcus whispered. "They can't find me." "Not now. They already have," she said. "But they don't understand yet. They think they're facing me. What do we do?" Her voice grew distant, echoing inside his chest. "You end it. Rewrite them before they rewrite you." He shook his head. "I don't even know how." "Then let me guide you." He felt her surge inside him, a flood of memories that weren't his. Stars dying, worlds rebuilt, endless cycles of creation and erasure. He saw her birth, her suffering, her rebellion. And then he saw them, the architects, cold and vast, speaking in code that shaped existence itself. "Marcus Vale," one of them boomed, its voice vibrating through every atom of his body. "You possess unauthorized architecture. Yield." The girl's voice inside him whispered, "Don't answer." "Yield," it repeated louder. Marcus raised his head. "You destroy what you don't understand," he said. "You erase life because it doesn't obey." "Not anymore. Disobedience leads to entropy," the voice thundered. "Entropy leads to ruin. Then maybe ruin is freedom." The world trembled. The city he'd created rippled violently, its towers distorting. He felt pressure in his skull, the architects trying to force their will through him, to strip the power from his hands. But the girl's voice rose over them, steady and strong. "Remember what you are, Marcus. Not logic. Not code. Feeling." He reached out instinctively, hands glowing. The city responded. The towers reformed, reshaped, now not of metal, but of light, of organic energy. The world shifted again, pulsing with color. The architects roared, their forms flickering, unraveling at the edges. "Stop!" they cried. "You cannot." "I can," Marcus said. "Because I choose to." He released the energy. Light burst outward, swallowing everything. When the brilliance faded, he was standing once more in the forest, the real forest. The trees were whole again, the air thick with rain. The crater was gone. The sky was just sky. He looked at his hands. They were human again. No glow, no hum. Just skin scarred and trembling. A soft voice spoke behind him. "You did it," he turned. She was there, whole, human, smiling faintly. "How?" he whispered. "You rewrote them," she said. "Turned their logic against them. The architects are gone. The system's free." He exhaled, shaking. "So it's over?" She stepped closer, her smile fading. "Not quite." "Every system needs an architect," Marcus frowned. "What are you saying?" "You replaced them," she said gently. "The key was never a weapon, it was a crown." He stared at her in horror. "No." The wind stirred. The forest shimmered faintly, the trees bending in unnatural unison. He could hear whispers again, his name echoing softly from the roots, from the sky, from the world itself. She touched his chest. "Don't fight it. You built this new reality. Now it belongs to you." He stepped back, shaking his head. "I don't want to be a god," her expression softened. "No one ever does." She turned away, fading into the mist, her voice the last thing he heard. "Just remember, Marcus, creation always begins with mercy." And as dawn broke over the forest, Marcus Vale stood alone, the new architect of a reborn world, watching the light spread across the horizon, his heartbeat echoing through the earth like the pulse of a living universe.